Claudia Webbe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm afraid that this bill fails on every conceivable measure of a humane and just immigration policy. And I'm concerned my constituents are particularly vulnerable to the predatory aspects of this legislation. 43% of Leicester East residents were born outside of the UK, as opposed to 10% nationally. And our citizens hail from over 50 countries around the globe. This diversity is what makes our city special. Yet with a 2-week lockdown extension announced in my home city, this bill fails to protect the most vulnerable citizens of my city. To ensure that every Leicester resident can seek the medical help they need during this rate of increase in coronavirus, it is vital for full citizenship rights to be extended for undocumented workers, those with no recourse to public funds, and people with no indefinite leave to remain. Yet this bill fails to provide these necessary protections. Under most visa categories, migrants who are legally in the UK, working and paying tax, are unable to access publicly funded support. The organisation Migration Observatory estimates that nearly 1.5 million people currently have no recourse to public funds, including those of children who were born in the UK. For people who already face uncommonly difficult challenges in their daily lives, this pandemic has only deepened fears over how to maintain an income, remain healthy, or even stay alive. The National Citizens Advice Bureau has recorded a 110% increase in people seeking advice about no recourse to public funds during this pandemic. And a recent report from the Children's Society found that almost half of children with parents born abroad live in poverty. The government must introduce an amnesty on all migrants, including residency rights, for the duration of this pandemic, and to end the callous no recourse to public funds policy. There's also an estimated 1 million undocumented workers who lack any entitlement to support from the state. Many of these people are destitute and living in the shadows, unable to access healthcare and fearful of what will happen to them if they identify themselves. In nearly all cases, undocumented people are not criminals, but simply those who have fallen through the cracks of the government's callous, hostile environment policies. For people forced to endure this level of insecurity, it is impossible to comply with government guidance on self-isolation and social distancing. With my constituency experiencing an overwhelming rise in coronavirus cases with a rate of infection that's beyond acceptable, it is imperative and in the best interest of everyone in our country that the best needs of all of our residents are met, especially given the disproportionate impact of COVID-19. The tragic irony is that many undocumented people, or those with no recourse to public funds, who are living in a constant fear of the state, work in frontline services that the government have been at pains to praise during this crisis. We must ensure that all frontline workers, regardless of their immigration status, are valued and protected as we rebuild our economy and society. It is vital that we repay the extraordinary contribution of frontline workers during this pandemic with a permanent extension of migrant rights. That means an end to the hostile environment, shutting detention centres and granting indefinite leave to remain for everyone living in the UK. In Leicester, the coronavirus pandemic has caused widespread suffering for too many individuals and communities, with widespread job losses.
Sorry, we have to move on.